Welcome to the Week 4 episode of Prop Shop. I'm your host, Bobby Stanley, also known as PropHolliday, rocking with the boys over at GoldBoys with JD. For my opening monologue, we are going to do the 1 p.m. recap. That's kind of my go-to for Sunday's show. So 1 p.m. recap. Aaron Rodgers is the biggest struggle you're going to have handling success? Yeah, no, the Jets lost to the Broncos today at home, despite the Jets owning the time of possession, 248 yards of total offense, 4 for 17 on third down. If you had anything to do with the Jets, if you have anything to do with Breece Hall, your day is probably pretty shitty. Not just Breece Hall, though. If you had Bijan Robinson touchdown, Saquon touchdown, Aaron Jones touchdown, Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, any of those in your touchdown parlay, welcome to the club. You're at the right place. Now, Bengals get their first win of the season over the Panthers, 34-24. Bucks smack the Eagles, 33-16. And as I mentioned before, Saquon Barkley messed up me and JD's run back parlay collab. We go 3 out of 4 in our attempt. We won last week. This week, we hit Nico Collins, we hit Zach Moss, we hit Justin Jefferson, and the worst odds or best odds, depending how you want to look at it, minus 138, come up short. Barkley had a couple cracks at it inside the 4. Jalen Hurts ended up getting the red zone touchdown that I talked about in the write-up, that the Bucs giving up touchdowns inside the 5 at such a high rate. Goes to Hurts and not Saquon Barkley. We fall short, but we will run that back next week. I promise you. Texans steal one against the Jags. Jags moving 0 for 4 against the season. 0 for 4 against the spread. Texans, blah, blah, blah. Texans move 0-4 against the spread. Jags go to 0-4 in the record. Vikings 4-0 against the spread, 4-0 in the regular season. They beat the Packers, which is a nice divisional win despite Jordan Love coming back. Love actually did something pretty cool. He showed up in a Brett Favre jersey. Some people may not like Brett Favre, but he was diagnosed with Parkinson's this week, so I thought it was a good nod to him. So credit to him. Steelers get their first loss of the season, but Justin Fields is looking good. 3 total touchdowns, 1 passing, 2 rushing, 1 fumble lost. But I don't think they ever go back to Russ. So maybe Russ ends up in a Raiders uniform before the end of the season. But the Steelers have something there with Fields playing some of the best ball of his career, but they do fall to the Colts. Anthony Richardson goes down. Flacco stepped up seamlessly like we all kind of expect at this point. But Richardson got banged up on a play. Looked like he was holding his oblique, gets back up, goes right back in the next play, and Shane Steichen calls a planned run. And even the announcer's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? I know he's a brick shithouse. I know he's Cam Newton 2.0, but you can't be running him in the ground like that, at least this early. He doesn't have enough starts under his belt for his career for him to be missing time like this. So that one, I don't care how big he is. You just got to be smarter with that. He goes down. We have no idea the extent of the industry, but the injury. But Flacco looked good. Flacco looks good again. I don't know if anyone had the Justin Fields Taysom Hill 2 touchdown parlay. It probably paid pretty nicely. Keep an eye on BR betting. I'm sure they're going to have something for us later today. I did think I saw someone that Taysom Hill 2 touchdowns was plus 3,200. Fields was probably like plus 12 or 1,300. So that ticket I'm sure exists somewhere. Suffer with me for a minute. The Rams lose to the Bears on the road. Stafford's doing everything he can out there. They're just so banged up front. They can't stop the run defensively. They have a bunch of young guys who are talented on defense, but you can tell they're still kind of figuring out the details of the stuff, and they end up getting gashed by the Bears on the ground. Stafford doesn't have enough time to get anything off. He threw an interception, but he was under duress the whole game, playing with guys who are at best wide receiver 3s. Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington looked good. I was a week early on him, but Rams lose. I watched a decent amount of Caleb today, probably more than I've watched all season. I'm still not overly impressed. He had the best rushing attack that he's had all season. DeAndre Swift was probably the story of the game, but Caleb Williams, 17 for 23, 157 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 DJ Moore, which was nice to see him get involved. But Swift, 93 yards rushing, 70 yards receiving, and a touchdown. I know a lot of people were on Roschon Johnson. He did get a bit bigger role. He did get in the end zone, but the bulk of the workload went to Swift, who showed up nicely. I don't give a lot of defensive hat tips here, but shout out to Jaquan Brisker, safety for the Chicago Bears. He stood out on tape today. I have to give him a nod. 12 tackles, 1 sack, 1 interception, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass defense, made a big play on third down late in the game to stop Kyron Williams on a screen. Unreal game by him. He was all over the field. So those were my insights that I caught from the 1 p.m. But let's talk about tonight's game. We finally don't have a snooze fest like we did Thursday night between the Cowboys and the Giants. I did not do well in that game. I think I went 1-for-1 in the picks I gave out. But the touchdown liquor cabinet shit the bed because the Giants didn't score touchdowns. So that was fun. I have high hopes for this Bills against Ravens game. Bills getting 2.5 despite being undefeated. Baltimore is 1-2, but this is still a matchup of the two top 5 teams in the AFC, in my opinion. One has had a very easy schedule. One has had a very difficult schedule. But talent-wise, coaching, quarterbacks, you have potentially this year's MVP, Josh Allen, looking for his first MVP, going against last year's MVP in Lamar Jackson, especially if Mahomes drops one here today against the Chargers. He doesn't look good. He threw a pick, and I think he's the one who took out Rashee Rice and messed up his knee. So a chance for Josh Allen to kind of cement his name atop the MVP board, but Sam Darnold is right up his ass. Well, I can't believe I have to say that. Baltimore, 2 ugly losses behind them. By winning this game in prime time, they would move to 2-2. The big test for them is going to be next week against Cincy because this division is tough. But I don't think they're overlooking this game. That's not what I'm alluding to. A lot of skill position players on both sides of the ball tonight, depending what your tickets look like. A lot of guys can step up and make plays. I like that. Not unlike what we saw on Thursday Night Football with the Giants. Not that many playmakers there outside of Neighbors. I've been reading a couple message boards. It's kind of how I get as close to fan level detail. I've been reading a lot of message boards. Ravens fans are saying this is must win to avoid 1-3. And then, like I said, you go to Cincy next week. According to PFF, another reliable source, kind of where I get a bunch of my data, both of these teams are neck and neck in terms of overall ranking, defensive ranking, offensive ranking. They're within a notch of one another. Where they deviate is Bill's strength of schedule is 32nd. Ravens has been pretty tough. If you look at the wins for the Bills, it's Miami without Tua, who Arizona actually thought was a decent team. They're playing really well here today. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for them. As far as matchups individually, Isaiah Likely, best matchup according to PFF for tight ends this week. Maybe we finally get the Mark Andrews breakout game we've been waiting for. Kincaid also has a positive matchup in terms of the same metric. So could finally be a night for tight ends. Has not been a big tight end season so far in fantasy or in betting tickets. But let's go into my first play for tonight. I know that's what you guys are waiting for. James Cook, Buffalo Bills, over 2.5 receptions at -120. I got this earlier in the week. You can find it on FanDuel. You can find it on Bet365. Baltimore plays man coverage, the 12th highest rate in the NFL, but they're 26th in defensive success rate and explosive plays allowed. Cooks leads all Bills skill position players, including wide receiver and tight end, in target rate against man coverage. He has 29% target share against man. He's hit this in 2 or 3 games this season, averaging 2.6 receptions per game, so it's a good line. Baltimore has allowed 15 receptions in 3 games to opposing running backs while allowing the 4th most targets to opposing running backs. This Bills offense, I would say, is probably the most prolific, the most efficient. They look the best, but also they've had the easiest strength of schedule, so I'm trying to temper expectations, but you have Josh Allen playing the best football he's played since 2020. You have this motley crew of receivers. You got what's his name? Khalil Raymond. Shakir. You got Keon Coleman. And you got Mac Hollins and Curtis Samuel. They shouldn't be good just on paper, but they are. Then you can have a run-heavy game with Cook. We saw that against the Miami Dolphins. He goes for 3 touchdowns. And if needed, we still haven't gotten the Dalton Kincaid game, really. So they're pretty malleable of taking whatever a defense gives them. I credit all that to Josh Allen and McDermott. Probably the best offense in the league. I said that already. I think Cook has a big role tonight. So give me him on the receptions front, over 2.5. It's a good matchup. It's a good line. That's my first play. It's a 1U to play for me. Guys, if you're looking to just get started with FanDuel, I don't know how many of you have not signed up for FanDuel, but let's say you haven't. There's no better time than now. Place a $5 bet, and if your bet wins, you receive $150 in bonus bets. It's an incredible way to kickstart your betting journey with FanDuel. Head over to the link in our episode in description to get started. You must be 21 plus. You got a gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, heading into my second play of the night, staying on the Buffalo Bills offensive side of the ball. The first under I'm giving, and I know they're not fun, but You're winning until you're not. Haha, that's the fun part of an under. Curtis Samuel, under 19.5 receiving yards at minus 120. Now, last week, I was on Keon Coleman in the primetime slot. I did not know this. He was late to practice, and they benched him the whole first quarter. He still ended up cashing a touchdown on his one reception, but I don't expect him to be late this week. They're showing him that they're not messing around. That should eat into somewhat of Curtis Samuel's snaps. Plus, Keon Coleman is the best wide receiver they have statistically against man defense. James Cook, overall best option, best wide receiver. Keon Coleman, this is through 3 weeks. Samuels has 3 receptions for 22 yards all season against man defense with an average depth of target of 0. And on those catches, and the yards per route run is just 2. He's a consistent 27% of snaps through 3 weeks, has not deviated from that snap share, and he's averaging 6.6 yards per reception on the season. I am fading him tonight. The only thing that would make this one go south is if Baltimore jumps out early, and then we see a little bit more of Curtis Samuel. He's been playing in situations where they've been ahead, but I'm going to temper expectations and play the numbers here. Curtis Samuel under 19.5 receiving yards, if you can still get it. Jake, what if I don't have a gambling problem? I know how to do that. It's the winning I suck at. Can I call the same number? Jake, I'll give you my number after the show. Thank you for bringing that up. So we're going Curtis Samuel under 19.5 receiving yards at minus 120. My first under given out in the show in 4 weeks. Let's go to the touchdown liquor cabinet, which everyone is excited for. Top shelf this week, we're going 3/4 unit. My guy, James Cook, plus 140. I don't spread this stuff around. I don't give you this guy. If I have an angle on someone, I'm taking it. I'm not giving you Derrick Henry at minus whatever the hell it's at. It's probably minus 160, 170. I would never give that to you guys. You have more valuable time than that. James Cook, plus 140. Baltimore, 4 rushing touchdowns allowed this season, tied for fourth worst in the league. Could it be Josh Allen? Could it be James Cook? I'll show you how I'm dealing with Josh Allen later on in the liquor cabinet. But James Cook, plus 140, is my 0.75 play for that. Let's go to the mid shelf. I talked about Isaiah Likely. I talked about tight ends. Mark Andrews, plus 310, going half a unit. Not a ton of tight end touchdowns this season through 3 weeks, but Bills are one of the few teams who have given up one. I can see him getting involved in the red zone, especially if they get down at some point, and Derrick Henry is the obvious choice. I can't in good conscience give out the Derrick Henry thing. Mark Andrews, plus 310. I'm getting 3-1 on him. Still waiting for him to break out, but I think it's a decent spot there. Well, Vaca is probably my favorite one, which never happens. Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns. So instead of just giving you some long shot, I'm going with a 2 touchdown score for my Well Vaca. Bring that unit size down. Plus 900, plus 850, depending where you're at, but that's the range you should be. I mentioned that stat earlier for James Cook, giving up 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. That's the 4th most. My logic is if I get Cook, I get the touchdown. It's what I'm getting my best value at. But if it ends up being Josh Allen in the red zone, I'm already there with the 2 touchdowns. I got the rest of the game to have some fun with that. So is this a game where Josh Allen cements his name as the MVP at the top of the list? It's very, very possible. I don't understand how they're 2.5-point underdogs. It's probably going because they're on the road. It's probably going because of the strength of schedule. I really like this Bills team. Is this where they falter? I don't know. If you can get a 3, take the 3. 2.5, not as much. Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns is our Well Vaca play at plus 850, plus 900. If you have a no sweat bet still available on that game, this is the play to put it on. Josh Allen, 2 touchdowns. Quick recap, Mark Andrews in that middle slot at plus 310, and then James Cook plus 140. This isn't a play that I've given out. I didn't let James producer know, but Zay Flowers, he's been quiet for too long. He has the most I believe targets and snaps for receivers against man coverage for this against zone coverage for this Buffalo defense. Someone that could pop. It's a gut feeling. I have to share it. I like Zay Flowers in some capacity. His over 4.5 receptions was like minus 160. Someone shouted out Justice Hill. Justice Hill in the receiving game. I just gave that out in the Prop Shop Discord. Over 15.5 receiving yards. I didn't type it up here, but I could still memorize it from before. Over 15.5 receiving yards. The Bills give up the 4th most receptions to opposing running backs through 3 weeks. So Justice Hill is a guy I don't hate tonight. Curtis Samuel under 19.5 receiving yards, and James Cook over 2.5 receptions. We're getting involved with the running backs, some receiving angles. I really think Josh Allen scores 2 touchdowns tonight. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow night at 5:30 for a doubleheader of Monday Night Football. Last week, we hit a touchdown in each game for a parlay. I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow night. Make sure you tune in. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening.